Hi! Even though it's a pretty old camera now and many newer and technically better cameras have come along over the years, I still love to go out and shoot street with my Fujifilm X100. But before we talk about my X100 settings for street photography, welcome to my channel. This channel is mostly about photography and life as an artist. If you are already a subscriber, thanks for watching again. I'm super happy about your support, and if you are not a subscriber yet, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. This helps me a lot to be able to continue making videos for you guys. The Fujifilm X100 was launched in 2011 and it immediately won the hearts of many photographers. For example, because the hybrid viewfinder was a real novelty. At that time, most cameras on the market were either big DSLR systems or bridge cameras with weird shapes and lenses that covered the widest possible focal length range. In terms of small cameras, there were only classic point-and-shoot cameras with which you couldn't shoot manually very well. So it's no surprise that the Fujifilm X100 made a big impact when it was launched, because it's a really nice size and it fits easily into a larger jacket pocket. It also comes with a really good 23mm lens, despite its small size. The sensor is an APS-C sensor, so the 23mm lens is about 35mm when translated to full frame. 35mm is a popular focal length among street photographers because it's great for capturing people in action. All these features and the great colors the camera produces made me buy the camera right at launch back in 2011. Quite a lot of money for me at the time, but I haven't regretted a cent. Due to its age, the camera has a few disadvantages that are not so important to me because I only use it for street photography and snapshots. But before I start talking about the downside of my Fujifilm X100, it's still one of my favorite cameras, and the colors that the old CMOS sensor produces look so incredible that I hardly have to post-process my images. The whole way I shoot with the X100 reminds me very much of film photography. It is also my most quiet camera and it's just the right size so I can always take it with me and use it for everyday life. There's only one thing about the Fujifilm X100 that really bothers me a little bit. The focus ring is focused by wire, and in 2011 this technology wasn't exactly perfected. If I turn the focus ring quickly, the focus adjusts by a greater distance, and if I turn the wheel slowly, I can fine-tune the focus. Actually a good idea, but when it gets hectic I prefer a manual focus whose position I can remember without having to look at the camera. But let's talk about my settings for the X100. In the shooting menu I select L in 3x2 as image size and fine and raw as image quality, because with 12.3 megapixel you want to capture the highest possible quality. For film simulation I choose Astia because the softer colors give me more possibilities to change the image later. The raw files are without film simulation. Here I still have all the possibilities to change everything. I leave the ND filter switched off in this situation because I closed the aperture to about 8 or 11, but more about that later. Under set I set the silent mode because only this way the camera is absolutely silent and an ideal companion for street photographers. With the view mode button I turn off the display so the battery lasts about a day. In bright light I use the optical viewfinder, otherwise, or when it gets darker, I mostly use the electronic viewfinder. Every now and then I also set the autofocus on the X100 on. Then I also use the electronic viewfinder to make sure that the camera has focused correctly. But as I just said, I use the X100 mostly for street photography, and there I only use zone focus technique anyway. This means that I set the focus to a certain distance and close the aperture so that as much as possible behind the distance is sharp. Feel free to write me in the comments if you want me to make a video in which I explain more about zone focusing. But back to my settings for the Fujifilm X100. On a sunny day I usually set the aperture to 8 or 11 and the focus distance to about 1.5 meters. That's the distance I'm still comfortable with, and of course that can change depending on the subject. I also set ISO to 400 on a sunny day because I want to achieve a reasonably fast shutter speed despite a very small aperture. These are my FujiFilm X100 settings that I've created over the years and with which I can photograph best. It's important to concentrate on the composition of the photo with the X100 because with 12.3 megapixels you don't have much room to crop the image in post. This is maybe another reason why shooting with the X100 feels to me like shooting with film, because in times of limitless dynamic range, many megapixels and menus that are more extensive than settings of cars, the FujiFilm X100 with all its limitations is a really pleasant change. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope I could give you some impressions how it feels to shoot with the FujiFilm X100 in the year 2022. See you next time.